Good morning, everyone. It's Ben Buckner with AgResource Company in Chicago. New week, Monday, November the 10th, and we're just checking in on markets, kind of steady to higher across the board. And of course, it's WASD week, which we are grateful for. And I think what we're looking at markets-wise, just very quickly, is everything is aligned more or less with the USDA's September WASD. So here you're seeing March soybean futures against what is expected to be the November WASI stocks to use, and it just very fairly broadly aligned with the balance sheet as it stands today or stood in September. Whether this moves up or down is pretty critical. Yield will be critical. What does the USDA do with total exports given the lag in physical shipments that we've seen to date? We know seasonal trends are pretty rigid, so we are concerned about downside risk and for reasons that we'll touch on, but just want to communicate that markets today do seem to be perfectly aligned with the USDA's September balance sheet. So there could be room for surprises come Friday. Corn, very similar, not very exciting. I did want to highlight, though, the corn stocks to use to price relationship. But just notice how everything is clustered very closely together. So one of our central theses in corn is you really got to find a way to either push U.S. corn stocks to use to 18% or something, or pull it below 10 or 11% to change the structure of the market price-wise. And then it's going to be very, very difficult, at least for the short term, on both ends. South American weather is probably what drives big picture changes in corn prices. And soybeans too. I think we've got normal crop progress in South America, which is important, I think, because it is helping us define the runway that exists for the U.S. to increase its share of soybean trade. Mato Grosso, by far the largest producing state in Brazil, has seeded 86% of its 25-26 soybean crop. That is part and parcel, I think, of the weakness in Brazilian cash soybean prices. And you can see that when we look past December into February and into March, there are discounts in the Brazilian FOB market of 55 cents or greater, and those discounts widen as you move through the Brazilian marketing year. Crop progress data, we will revisit yield potential in Mato Grosso for soybeans, in 30 or 40 days. But we did want to highlight what it means for harvest progress. So again, yield uncertain. That debate will come in a month or so. But we assume that harvest progress, like planting progress, will be pretty close to average. And so you will probably see Mato Grosso harvest 50% of its soybean crop, or about 27 to 30 million tons by February 7th. That is different than last year, where ultimately we caught up the Mato Grosso soybean farmer with normal, but there's going to be a pretty wide discrepancy in the amount of soybeans available this year in February in Brazil and what was available last year. And so I think that is staring at the markets in the face once we get some measure of clarity over Chinese demand and, of course, the USDA's WASD report on Friday. But we also wanted to use this video to introduce kind of a new feature we've got, and this is free to everyone. You don't have to be a paid customer of AgResource. Ahead of the November WASD, and given yield uncertainty, especially in a market like corn, we want to kind of put some of the tools in your hand and maybe even see what the client base thinks about soybean corn yield. So we've come up with this estimator on our website, agresource.com/yield estimator. And so what you do here, and it's fairly simple, is this is the landing page. This is where you'll be introduced. You click on the commodity, corn or soybeans, and this is by state. So we want to think about the regional differences in weather or disease, and we want to put these analytical tools in your hand. So all you do is click on the green highlighted column, so your estimate for November. Let's change, for example, Illinois. And just to show you what the calculation is for national yield and production, let's change Illinois corn yield to something like 175. Then you click away from the green column and you'll see that automatically the national yield and production data is updated. So we want to give you this tool, go through it, change any and every state that you'd like. The national yield and production numbers will be updated automatically. And then hit submit your 2025 yield estimate. We'll ultimately kind of compile what our client base thinks about yields ahead of the November WASD. We'll do it again for January. We'll do this again for every year moving forward and for South American crop sizes. So it's just a new tool that we want to give to you and kind of help everyone understand what are probable yields ahead of these critical USDA reports. So this is a new feature. Please check it out. And of course, if you like what you see, $1 gets you in for 30 days. We'll have a full rundown of the USDA's WASDE report and hopefully the reopening of the federal government and the flood of data that lies ahead. So we'll be back tomorrow with market updates. Until then, have a great day trading.